Well, hello there, and thank you for checking out the video. Today, we're going back and looking at America's very first financial crisis. It is an interesting story which involves the would-be U.S. government, and it is the reason that we have things today such as the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Mint, and the U.S. dollar. I hope you enjoy it and have a great rest of your day. Please feel free to leave a like or a comment of something that you wish was changed. And of course, I am very grateful for any and all subscriptions. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Today, America is a dominant economic power, and this wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the actions and decisions that took place during the founding of the country. But that doesn't mean there weren't bumps in the road, and some felt more like holes than bumps. But first, we need a little background information, so here it is. The Revolutionary War ended in 1783, and America was now free, but they were also broke. The British had stolen most of their gold and silver, and the currency used by the revolutionary government, the Continental, was basically worthless. This money was in circulation from 1775 through 1779 to help with financing the war. However, it quickly lost value due to not being tied to any other physical asset, but instead to expectations of future tax revenues. And those never looked great during a war. It also had a major issue of being overprinted and faced major bouts of inflation. Unfortunately, that sounds eerily similar to America today. At the first issue of credit, $2 million were printed, and by the end that had reached over $200 million. In 1780, it took 400 continental dollars just to buy one silver dollar. And by 1785, people stopped accepting it as payment. Thankfully, Alexander Hamilton knew something had to be done. He wasn't perfect by any means, but we do owe him plenty of thanks and gratitude. The National Bank was formed in 1791, which was followed by the adoption of the US dollar and US Mint, leading America towards stability. Now, without getting too bogged down with the details, here is what happened. Hamilton had a great idea of how to run the country's financial system. But not everyone was on board, and that includes Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. So, for Hamilton to get his way, he needed some help. In today's setting, this would look a lot like insider trading, or the government, politicians, and bankers making decisions and profiting from those decisions. It's funny how some things never change. A main part of Hamilton's plan was to secure and finance the debt the country had garnered during the war and stabilize and boost the economy. But in order to do so, he had to explain to Congress and major Wall Street traders his plan and convince them that it was the right thing to do. Well, they agreed to pass and back the idea, and this is where the problem resides. But why was there so much debt and a monetary crisis? Well, America needed money and supplies for the war, and it didn't really have either. Since the war was literally over taxation, that wasn't an option. They did choose to get help through loans from foreign governments, mainly France, but this wasn't their main action. For the money, they chose extreme printing, which led to the devaluation of the currency, and for the supplies, they relied on commissary notes. These notes were given out by state and federal governments to citizens who had helped contribute to the war by donating or giving up needed supplies. The biggest issue that took place was that the money supply couldn't be controlled because people resorted to using the commissary notes instead, which steepened the depreciation of the Continental and the notes. The only way out of this for everyone was for the government to step in and honor the country's debt at face value, which was estimated to be around $80 million. But there's a hitch. Only a small group of people knew that this was going to happen. The word around town, between citizens, bankers, investors, pretty much everyone, was that both the currency and the notes were worth basically nothing, backed by nothing, and no one, and it was very unlikely that they would gain back value or be paid back. So when Hamilton revealed his plan to Congress and Wall Street that the national government would back both the currency and the promissory notes, those individuals realized that both of those things were extremely undervalued. By 1790, before any kind of legislation could be written or the common people of the country heard about the news, financiers and politicians close to Hamilton were snapping up large amounts of war-era debt which the market priced as junk. The farmers and soldiers who sold the notes and currency did not know that the Treasury would redeem them at full value. So the small circle invested hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own money to buy up all of the junk, and then were able to sell it back to the national government for ginormous profits, reaching into the millions. It is unclear who all exactly benefited from the deal, even though it is believed that Alexander Hamilton himself did not take part in the free money scheme. In all honesty, America at the time had much bigger issues to worry about than the speculation that occurred. But that doesn't mean it should go without notice. The most famous example of all belongs to William Duer, who was Hamilton's first assistant while he was Secretary of Treasury. And he is the star in our next video, which will be about America's first stock market crisis, so we will pick it up here next time. And now you know. Thank you very much for watching the entire video. You really mean a lot. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.